Co-ownership to me means I have a say in how this business is run. It's not somebody else's business and I come here, survive 8 hours of a day and get paid end of the month. Whatever the other major shareholders get, I get in proportion. So it's up to me to literally make this company or break it.
They have an opportunity to sit with the directors and share and hear everything, the direction and everything that the company or the place where I'm employed in is getting to.
They're part and parcel of everything the company is doing with the involvements and that, so the guys are quite willing to go the extra mile even for the company within productivity.
Well, co-ownership is important to me as a director because it addresses certain issues, firstly on a personal level, on the people themselves, and also on a productivity level, that's at a company level, and on a sales level, that's in terms of the turnover. I would also want to say that possibly on a quality level as well. So it affects the person who's actually become the co-owner. It affects us, the company, in terms of the performance. It also affects the customer, who's the beneficiary of the work that's going to come out of that person who's now become a co-owner, in the sense that the person who's now the co-owner now takes responsibility, takes ownership of the job that they do, and ensures that they produce a better quality product.
Okay, on the co-ownership issue, the Tranter mandate is that all people that have an association with Tranter must have some degree of empowerment, and the logic behind that is that if the guy is an integral part of the business in terms of a shareholder, on that basis the guy is more comfortable with making a meaningful contribution to the business. And hence the reason for Tranter, since its inception, there's been a mandate from the stakeholders that there's always an active participation by the employees within the Tranter group. Encourage the co-ownership. It's an expansion and maybe an improvement, in our opinion, on the current BBBEE program.
Company, I feel like being a boss, like running your own company. And working for a boss, it's a bit of stress, but when you're your own boss, you actually feel less stress. And even like it's been mentioned before that, one should actually see forward to coming to work. That's how we feel of being, Tranter shareholders.
The individuals are allocated a share certificate, which clearly indicates the number of points that are allocated to them. The share certificate, to some extent, is a living document in the sense that as the guy progresses either up the ranks and he moves up the Patterson grading system in terms of promotion, under the auspices of his individual development program, he will obviously move up the ranks and acquire more points. And obviously, with length of time in terms of service, he will obviously go into the next band, so to speak, and acquire further points on the basis of that. So he adds value to his own personal portfolio, both by obviously performance of himself as an individual and the time that he spends meeting the criteria.
It is very good thing, or should I say a nice thing, to be involved in something which you know that you are part of, or you have ownership of it. So me personally, it has changed a lot.
We set the target for July, and over there, that's everything we managed to reach. The target versus what we have reached, and the average, I see that the rate is actually increasing, which is a good effort from all of us. August, there's a target for each and every one of us to achieve. Now the question is, can we do it? Yes, we can do it.
In July, due to the industrial action and we did make our targets, you see it went down. That green one is the value as at the end of July.
The strike, it was an unfortunate thing. I would say 90% or so of the guys were willing to come and work, since they were feeling a sense of ownership.
Guys are quite willing to go the extra mile even for the company within productivity.
Managed to run the factory every day during the strike, even if it was not to the fullest capacity which we expected.
Talking to people who've got vested interest in it directly. So when you introduce something, they'll question it, but not with the resistance, but with the inquisitiveness of what value does it add? Can I actually really take this thing and make it my own?
We have an instance whereby one of these co-owners or these employees have actually taken it upon themselves to ensure that something which had been promised to a customer next week comes out at least 4 to 5 days much earlier, meaning that the product was done and completed and handed over to the customer, and that customer was satisfied. And to me, a satisfied customer comes back again to a repeat purchase.
To make sure that the share price goes up, first thing that I'm busy with, the project that I'm busy with, is the cost cutting. We try to minimize the cost of manufacturing, especially tooling, to the lowest. So as that amount of money that was spent for tooling can be able to make a difference in the profits of the company, so that the share dividends can be able to grow.
If you have shares, you get dividends on that. So that is on top of anything else that you can get that dividends. If you have higher share value and possible dividends, you have higher individual returns. So you have more money for yourself. And if you have more money, you have a better life for you and your family.
So the guys are looking at reducing costs in different ways, switch off your electricity when you go home, switch off the lights, not put the urn on the whole day. We'll buy the guy small kettle, so once he wants a cup of coffee at 9 o'clock, just switch a kettle and reduce the cost of electricity. And even on tooling as well, so we're moving in the right direction.
That's correct, because like right now, we are reaching the target that we never thought maybe one day we can.
The kind of conversations they have in the green areas has changed a lot. It's moved from listening to somebody talk to everybody putting input, to everybody having a say in how the whole thing is, that how the production is run, what's the best way to improve it, and initiatives, and everybody works together as a team. So it has improved greatly in that kind.
We've seen values in the region of 1.4 to 1.5 million rand a month being spent on consumable usage. And we've significantly dropped that down. That's sitting at around about the 600,000 rand level right now. Although if I had to measure it against what did we produce 2.5 years ago to what we're doing now, I would say we most probably doubled that output. So productivity definitely up. We're more structured. We know exactly which direction we want to go into. And I think our targets are all faced in the right direction. And that's been one of the big changes in the last 2.5 years that I've seen and part of.
If I can add to that, the trend certainly over the last 6 months has shown about a 25% improvement or increase in the share value over the last 6 months. And that is quite significant in the sense that when one, as a Tranter Employee Share Trust member, looks at the number of points that's been allocated to him, which will give him an appropriate number of shares, he can intrinsically work out what his value is worth in rands at any point in time. And realize also that his contribution makes or breaks the value of the share.
Consumables being one of the major costs, I think it's been under control. The ratio between what we produce versus how much we spend on consumables has shown a favorable inclination.
And then on operating expenses, again, 5.5 million rand saving. Thank you to everyone that contributed to that.
And going forward with our plans of increased productivity, having a lower cost base and having lower consumable costs means that we can be more competitive out in the market. We don't have too much hidden costs going into our products.